What is going on, everybody? Jorge Aquino coming to you live and direct. This is indeed Tormenting Tarmac. It's the podcast where the enthusiast never dies. Coming at you live from the west end of the PHX right here in Surprise. What a cool day today is. First of all, it is April Fool's. It's April the 1st, so happy April Fool's Day to everybody and whatnot. But most importantly, my guest who was patiently, kindly waiting for me as I went ahead and got home because I had to run an errand for my wife on the way in and whatnot. But today was the launch of Artemis 2, bro, which
Yeah,
is
that's
so
literally before
cool.
we talked. I was just watching a bunch of footage from the inside, and I'm like, just give it a moment and just appreciate the fact that like we watched the launch, and then we
Yes.
have a live stream inside of a space shuttle, and we have astronauts in space heading to or around the moon.
I know.
So
You know what the
it's so wild.
I'm so stoked, because you and I are the same age. And before I go anywhere else, allow me to go ahead and introduce my guest. I share that is so rude of me. My guest this evening happens to be someone who has become a really good friend to the podcast and a really staunch supporter, and who has opened doors for me in more ways than one. That happens to be the senior vice president over at Kahn Media in Los Angeles, California. That is, of course, Cory Burns, my dude. You are like Mr. LA to me, bro. You're Mr. LA because you are like you
I don't
are
even
the
live in
essence of
LA.
LA. I know but you're like born and raised like LA because you got Farrah, you got Lieberman, you got Clapman. They're LA transplants. You're born and
Yeah,
raised LA, low
yeah, yeah,
riders all day. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
man. I was San Fernando Valley kid and then moved like 15 minutes away from there. So we're I'm
Yeah.
like pretty much stayed in the same area.
You were a legit Los Angelino, as they say.
Yeah.
So like that's and yeah, I love that because as someone who grew up going to LA so many times as a kid, of course I grew up in Tucson and now I live in here in the Phoenix area and whatnot. So, Californians, they're my neighbors, and I love the state of California, and I love Los Angeles, and I love San Diego, and whatnot because it's just a beautiful part of the union. But then it's also you guys have what we don't, which is a beach, right? And I miss the beach.
Yeah. The thing
Yeah,
is I'm close. I'm close and I never go. Like when I was growing up, I'd go and go skimboarding and stuff. And it's like,
yeah,
sometimes you just have to take a moment and like even when you go, you could be in the mountains one day, like I'm riding mountain bikes one day, or I'm at the
yeah.
beach, or I'm doing a driving canyons or whatever. Like as far as landscape goes, we got it pretty sorted. It's pretty
You
good.
guys, you guys probably have it sorted as best as anybody else could have it in the entire
Yeah,
country.
it's pretty. There's a lot of
It's
stuff that's not great about living here, but there's like the basics of it are pretty excellent.
I completely agree. I completely agree. Again, long live LA, baby. Long live LA. I
Yeah.
love it. I love California. At the end of the day, y'all might be like way more expensive than everywhere else, with the exception of New York
Yeah,
City
don't
and
get
the
me
entire
started.
country. Like we know that, right? We know the
Yeah,
real
yeah.
estate and everything like that. But then at
It's
the end of
pretty
the
all right
day,
though.
it's pretty all right when you realize, like, dude, I went in November. We were just talking about the fact that I went to the LA Auto Show in November and whatnot, right? And I know I've talked about this on the podcast a few times, so please forgive me, audience, for talking about this, but it was a great experience. And, you know, it actually, when was the last time I'd gone to LA? Actually, I'd gone to LA previous summer. So I went to LA twice last year, which is, doesn't always happen. I usually go to LA every 3 or 4 years and stuff like that. So to have gone to Los Angeles twice in one year, that it's been a long time since I did that. And so I went to the LA Auto Show and whatnot. And so me and then friend of the show, of course, Ryan Barkey of that car show, and shout out to Danny P as well, good friends of this podcast and good friends of mine. And of course, Danny P. Of course, you guys are working a bunch with them over at Con
Yep.
Media and all that good stuff. And
Yes,
so,
sir.
me and Ryan decided to go ahead and drive over to Neptune's Net, out in Malibu and whatnot, and to drive on Pacific Coast Highway. I'm driving through it, and you put the windows down. It's a gorgeous November day. It's a week before Thanksgiving and stuff like that. You're driving through it, bro, and you're like, yeah, I get why these houses are like $5 million each, bro. Like, it's a nice subtle reminder of like,
Like
oh
if
yeah,
when I do like a track day in February and I'm like people are posting photos of like, oh man, I can't wait to ride in spring, or like can't wait to play golf again, and I'm like, yeah, it's January, we're playing, it's great, it's
exactly.
72 degrees.
Same thing here in Phoenix, bro. Same thing here in Phoenix. You know what I mean? But like right
Yeah.
now, today was a nice day because like we have this like not a cold front, but like there's like a thunderstorm that's kind of moving across like a couple different areas in the valley and stuff like that. So like our high yesterday was 89, and then today's high was 81. It was a little bit windy, but like it's still beautiful. Like this is beautiful spring
Still
weather.
good.
Like I'll take this any day. And as you know, California and Arizona, during our winters, like oh man, like you can't heat it, bro. We have
It's man.
absolute perfection. And so, like, for anybody that tells me, oh, can you handle 115 degrees in the summer? Yeah, I can because my winters are awesome. You know what I mean? I
Yeah, I'll
can
be all
do not normal things during the winter.
right.
Um, so like our car season is the winter, not the summer. So
Yeah, exactly.
but how you been, buddy? It's been too long. The last time we got a really chance to go ahead and hang out, it's been a little over a year. Obviously, your life has been so busy with everything you're doing over at Kahn, and you've put this up on social media. I got to congratulate you again. Shout out to you and your lovely bride. You're expecting your baby girl
Yeah, thanks,
relatively
man.
soon. You love
Yeah,
to
yeah,
see
yeah.
it.
Yeah, we're like a week out, so
I know, man. We had to go
from
ahead.
this
Like
podcast.
I called Cory a couple weeks ago. I was like, "Yo, bro, you want to do the pod?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Before you say yes, how are we in time? How are we on time in terms of is your wife going to automatically call you and be like, I just went into labor in the middle of the podcast?" Like
Yeah, I
I
won't
had to
sprint out.
ask.
I'll be all right.
I know, right? We'll be chill. We'll be chill. But like that's such an amazing, beautiful blessing for you two both, man. So congratulations, of course.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's gonna be
What,
fun.
what are some fun preparations that you and your wife have had to kind of like switch around a little bit that you normally wouldn't have done over the last few years?
Yeah, I think, I mean, we had a guest room and we now we have a nursery.
Yep.
Um, so I think a lot of it is sort of like you don't realize how much shit that you need or even just the basics of what you need to like have a child right now. And I know that we've been having children for thousands of years and we did it with way less, but there's so many convenience elements that you like learn.
Mm-hmm.
People have been incredibly kind to us and we've had so many awesome like a bunch of our friends had girls, so we got a bunch of hand-me-downs, which was dope. So like we have clothes for like 4 years. We're great. Uh, you know,
Yo,
it's
the budget
honestly
got cleared. I love it. Let's go,
yeah,
son.
yeah. The like I think like honestly the thing that it showed me the most is like so many people showed up for us,
Right.
and not just not just for me or for something work related or whatever, but like for me and my wife and like for our family and people that have kids and have gone through it and have shown up to help with stuff. It's been super cool. So it's just like it's nice when you see you make friends for all from all different walks,
Right.
and when everybody shows up to the baby shower or goes golfing with you or whatever, like whatever it is, it's been super cool. So just really like kind of a reminder that we got such a good group.
Oh, dude, I love that. When you experience that type of life event, you see who really gives a damn about you and stuff like that because it's
Yeah,
such
for
a
sure.
enormous life changing event, but it's also such a positive and beautiful life event and stuff like that. So, there's always going to be a level of positivity that's going to be sent your way in a good way, and I'm
Yeah, it's
glad
been
that
good.
the right people showed up for you and your wife, and you love to see it. Praying that she comes out healthy and all that good stuff. Most
Yeah,
importantly, of
man.
course, shout out to your wife. Hopefully, that's a very healthy process for her as well. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, should be
every
good.
it's interesting because every single time, and I think that now we're starting to realize it a lot more over the last few years, but it's always been, oh, I pray the baby helps, it comes out and it's super healthy and whatnot. But like, it's not just the baby, it's our wives as well. It's the
Yeah,
mom. You
yeah,
know what I mean? Like,
100%.
it's so
Yeah.
important and whatnot. Like, my wife did it three separate times, and I'm like, you know, I was always praying for my kids, but at the same time, I'm like, yo, big God, like take care of my girl,
Yeah.
man. Please. I don't ask for a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, for sure.
and so there's amazing doctors and obviously amazing OBGYNs all over and whatnot, and so like it's a beautiful thing that they're always there to go ahead and make sure that take care of our ladies in that
Yeah.
situation. So I'm very very excited for you
Yeah,
and your
same here.
wife. It's gonna be amazing and whatnot. My man's about to go ahead and take some time off, so sorry, Con Media. Cory's gonna be at triple O.
Yeah, it's like two and a
How
half weeks. It
two
ain't
and a
too
half
long.
weeks?
So yeah. I'll be around.
You're gonna be good. You're gonna come back. All kinds of grays are gonna be on your beard and stuff like that, man. That's gonna be
Yeah, I'll be
crazy.
all right.
I love it. Let me ask you this, man, because I'm sure that maybe you haven't thought about this. Maybe you have been thinking about this. For when she's finally here, what do you think would be the first best event to take her out to car related? What do you think?
Man, I mean, probably, like trying to keep her out of the hot sun, nothing during the summer. Probably when she gets a little older, we'll be at Willow Springs Reimagine
Uh,
in October, mid-October. And so
Right.
I think like I'll probably, it's an hour and a half from the house. Like how Katie drive up, do a, at least come by for a couple hours and just see how she reacts to it. She'll be a little older by then, and
For
and
sure.
maybe that's the time. So it'll be cool.
I like that. That's a good one. We let's bring
Yeah.
that up for 1 second because as I mentioned to you before we started recording, I got a chance to go ahead and meet Jennifer Nicole, who is now working over at Willow Springs, and on the singer is also the one of the main, if not one of the main owners over at Willow Springs. It's been such an amazing transformation that has taken place over there and whatnot. Willow has been such an enormous staple of California car culture for 50, no, excuse me, call it 60 to 70 years at this point, right? And for the Matt, of course, I've heard him talk about this on TST on a variety of occasions, where he said that when they used Willow for Ford versus Ferrari, and the reason why they used it was because literally nothing had changed since like 1960, and it looks still
Yeah,
exactly
it
well,
looks the
nearly
same. Yeah.
identical, right? And
Yeah.
so like to now see the transformation that's taking place, but additionally, there's such a deep, rich history over there. So you and Kahn, of course, are working alongside with a lot of their events and all that. You being a native Los Angelino, there must be you always want to do the best thing that you want to do because you want to represent your company and you want to represent your clients. But when there is that special relationship of you having gone to that since you were a kid growing up, like how does that feel now that you're getting a chance to go ahead and represent this in this special way?
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, my dad and I grew up riding dirt bikes out about maybe 15 minutes down the road in Rosemond, just past Willow. So he had a friend with some property there. So like when I started riding dirt bikes, we were going out to some property and riding, and we'd stop by Willow, or there'd be some, VAR race or something happening on the weekend, and we'd pop by and check it out. And I always, I'd go there. I think it means a lot to me actually, and a lot more than I thought. But like we did a photo shoot when we first started working with them. We brought Larry out to shoot it, and Larry obviously has been going to Willow forever. He and I have been friends for like 16 years, and
All time.
he actually invited me to my first drift event. I love drifting,
Mm-hmm.
but Larry brought me to my first event. There was All Star Bash at Willow Springs. So like I got to go and I rode with Tommy Roberts in his S13 at the time, and Essa was there with his V10, 335, and it was like the best of grassroots drifting, and a bunch of friends that were all kind of coming up at the same time. Speed Hunters is cranking, all this stuff is happening, and so there's like my first track day was there. In guess what I would have done it in? It would have been in maybe my Miata. I had a Yaris too, so I did like
Oh,
the B
nice.
spec thing was big. So, but I did my first track day there, and I did drifting for the first time there. I've done a drift school there with Naoki, all kinds of stuff. So like when this news came around, and people that were in our circles, were talking about the ownership change. I mean, obviously we were lucky enough to have an opportunity to have the conversation, and so like outside of the event itself, like watching that place get all the love, and watching the tracks, looking at Streets of Willow how it is now, and having just driven it a couple months ago,
Yeah.
all repaved, new curbing, new paint, like it looks like Circuit Paul Ricard, instead of a bunch of potholes and stuff everywhere, and it was just neglected. Nobody was putting money into it. So
Yeah.
it's amazing. Like it's super super cool, and it's awesome that it's still our local track. So it's exciting.
That's so good, especially because like yeah, you got thermal, but thermal's nowhere near the Los Angeles County, right? What is it
and
like?
and
It's like
it's
two
not it's not
hours
accessible.
east.
And
It's
it's not
also not
accessible.
accessible because it's
It's
more of a
totally
private
private.
club
Yeah.
now, right?
Yeah.
And then
Mhm.
what's the
Yeah,
one
Chuck
that's
Wallace for sale
Chuck Walla?
also right now. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do I did a lot of track days at Button Willow, like on my sport bike and stuff. So that's pretty accessible. But again, like it's about like the facility sort of growing and
Right.
becoming something bigger. And so it's pretty cool. It's been really fun to be a part of.
I love that it's sometimes it's about evolution, right? Not necessarily a revolution or let's keep it how it is. Because at the end of the day, if you want something to go ahead and be enjoyed to the best of its abilities, if that means you do have to put money and effort into it to go ahead and make it better, so everybody can be able to enjoy it. Because I've never driven Willow at any point in my life, but I've watched enough videos from Lieberman on Motor Trend and from
Sure.
Kamisa, of
Top
course, and
Gear, everybody's filmed there. I mean,
everybody's
everybody.
been there,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
everybody knows what makes it great, but also everybody knows it's like, damn,
Yeah.
we got a little bit of work to
Yeah.
do, right? And so
Yeah,
I'm glad.
you're gonna eat a cheeseburger and you're gonna hang out and it's gonna be windy and hot or windy and cold and
Exactly. And
now there's some things to get out of the elements, so it'll be
yeah,
cool.
exactly. You know what? Like us as car enthusiasts, we might be grassroots, but I feel like we're sophisticated individuals. If I want
Yeah, you
my
want to be
burger,
comfortable.
yeah, if I want my burger, I want that stuff medium well. Give me on,
Yeah, yeah,
give me, for those who want to go ahead and enjoy a beer, I don't want a Bud Light. I'd like a craft beer. Thank you very much. Like, or a glass of wine instead of
yeah.
just like
I'm
a
a man
regular.
of taste.
Come on, I'm a sommelier at the end of the day. I'm just kidding. But it's cool to go ahead and just see that evolution. And
Yeah, for sure.
where the history is able to be maintained, and additionally, Singer, which is one of the most amazing brands in the world, gets a chance to go ahead and have their own real backyard where they can go ahead and continue to develop their own stuff as they continue to build cars and things of that nature. And just it shows that people give a damn. It shows that people give a damn. That's the thing that's so important to me, Cory. And so you guys having the opportunity to go ahead and represent that, to show that, hey, this pocket here in LA, we're going to make sure to protect it at all costs. And I think because in a time and age where you look throughout a lot of the places in the United States and stuff like that, a lot of tracks are closing, right?
For sure.
Because they want to go ahead and expand freeways and stuff like that. Like Firebird International Raceway right next to Radford here in Chandler
Yeah,
was almost subject to that. And thankfully, Radford is still alive and kicking and doing its thing and whatnot. Shout out to Radford over here. But like, there's other tracks that they've closed. And it's just like, oh,
yeah,
come
for
on,
sure.
man. And it stinks because
Yeah,
I get, listen, I get that for you and I are deep within this car culture. You more so than I. I'm at the door. You're setting the table, and that's something I appreciate about you. But
there's
like,
no levels, man. There's
yeah,
no levels.
we
If
we
if
we
you
we
love it,
we
you
we
love it.
we doing our thing. You know how it is. But what I'm getting at is, at the end of the day, for as expansive as the community is, it really is a relatively small pocket, and people never realize that.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
because of that, I recognize that a track is not necessarily a necessity, but there is a lot of people who it caters to. And I think those tracks being taken care of, especially those which have history within their respective cities or regions, you know, we got to maintain them. And I don't think
Yeah,
it's a
for
lot
sure.
too much to ask and whatnot. So I'm glad that that's been the case over there at Willow Springs, and I can't wait to see the expansion continue. I can't wait to go ahead and check it out because I do plan on getting out there at some
Yeah,
point.
yeah. Come
Um,
out. We're the Reimagine event. We're coming back. Last year was the
Excellent.
first one. Comes back October 17th this year. So
That
it
sounds
was
like a
like
beautiful 37th
it was
birthday
dope.
present to myself, dude. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie to you.
I turned 37 on Sunday, so I'll
Oh
be
yeah,
yeah, right on. Good on you.
yeah. Let's
Yeah,
go,
so
dude.
yeah, roll out. Like, I mean, last year felt like a SoCal family reunion. I mean, we
Yeah,
just had everybody out there for, just everybody from the car community, anybody you could think of. I hosted a whole lineup, a car show, a bunch of really cool stuff. And Odie brought a drift car out, and Galpin brought like a pink 4GT, and there was just so much cool stuff with the big red Camaro, and
yeah.
Leah Block doing donuts on the front straight, and just like so, it was so rad, and it was just super super fun. So this year will be even bigger.
I love to see it, and I'll definitely try and get out there and stuff like that. Little birthday
Yeah,
gift to
man.
myself and all that good stuff.
Yeah, roll
But
out.
dude, you were a King of the Hammers earlier at the beginning of the year, bro. And like, you. So for people who don't know, like what Cory's background is, obviously, he's an LA native and stuff like that. Huge car enthusiast. If you listen back to our very first episode, which we recorded about a year and a half ago, we recorded at Sonoma Raceway. All you hear is like, race cars flying behind us when we were going ahead and recording this little closet over in the media center over at
Yeah,
Sonoma Raceway. Like that was such a great time, right? And whatnot. You're into low riders, you're into drifting, you're a big motorcycle guy and stuff
I
like
like
that.
all of it.
All of it. But on top of that, you're into like super like Baja racing, of which makes sense because if anybody from Southern California that's into cars isn't into
I
Baja
grew up
racing.
in the desert, man.
You
So
know what I mean? Like there's something
yeah.
wrong with you if you're not into it and stuff. So like, was that your I don't think that's been your first time to King of the Hammers. That's a
No,
regular
no,
thing
no.
for you,
So
right?
I've been going. This is probably my 8th year there, and then the
Yeah, that's a lot.
last 3 or 4 we were responsible for all the media relations
Excellent.
and social for Hammers. We do all the digital marketing, all that stuff. So, um, yeah, I mean, we live in an RV for 2.5 weeks in the desert, and it's wild. And I try to like explain to people like like what like we're out there working, but like we have there's a tent set up. So I'm trying to think, there's like 400 between volunteers and staff that are involved in the event, whether it's corner workers or recovery people or flaggers or whatever it is. So it's a massive undertaking. 100,000 people show up to the middle of the desert for like 2 weeks, and for some people it's their vacation. It's like let's hang out and ride UTVs and dirt bikes and bring the kids and circle up all the other friends with RVs. And it's
Yeah.
like every UTV on the planet is freaking in the middle of it's there. And it's just there's nothing like it. This year was year 20 for the event itself. And like, what Luke and I that works with me, like one night we went out and like Sublime's playing in the in the middle of the desert. Like Sublime's like the featured concert. So we're like hanging out. Bradley's kid's the lead singer, the band now, and like hearing all the classics. And you like look around, you're like, dude, we're in this like this made up city in the middle of the
Yep.
desert, and everybody's just hanging out, beer in their hand, hanging out, listening to Sublime.
It's
So
so cool, dude.
it's wild, dude. And the racing's amazing. The way they cover it and being such a remote area is nuts.
Yeah.
And then like Dave Cole, their founder, we usually have some media that come out maybe for the first time, so we kind of take them on an adventure. And so went up with Dave and went crawling to the top of Fisher Mountain, and there's all these like mining caves and stuff back there. Like Johnson Valley in general is like an unbelievable place. And people think about the desert as just sort of an empty wasteland, and there's so much history and so much interesting stuff happening out there. So
Yeah.
it's just crazy. It's unexplainable. I
Right.
can't I don't know how to I always say it's like Burning Man for bros, but it's just it's just the
That's the most.
most.
Oh my god! I just
Yeah.
found the intro to the tonight's show right there.
Yeah.
That's Burning Man for Bros. I love that.
Yeah, but it's so rad. And like people that are, every kind of gearhead is there. Like
Yeah.
Bigfoot was sitting in Hammertown, and there's, little kids with RC rock crawlers, and it's just it's so cool. So, yeah, it's a long time to be away, but pretty rad experience, and
Yeah.
pretty a pretty amazing global people too. Like we have
Oh, very much
Ben that
so.
runs it. He's an Aussie, brings all his like Aussie contingent out. So they're there, everybody's hanging out by the staff fire pit at night, just shooting the shit, and you're hanging out with people from all over the world. It's
Yeah.
amazing. It's really fun.
It was amazing. I mean, I had two very good friends to the podcast and two very good friends of me. Shout out to Ray Roberts and Michael McCarthy. They were out there for a few days. I think they were out there with memory serves me right. I think they went out with Optima batteries and
Oh, okay, cool.
like
Sick.
yeah, and it was like
Yeah, we
amazing.
work with them too. So
Yeah, yeah. It's shout out to
yeah.
Optima. Hey, Optima, how you doing? Tormenting Tarmac here. I'm kidding. No, but like they went out and I think they went into like I think Ray may have gone out in like this insanely like trophy truck setup Ford Raptor, and it
Yeah,
was
probably
like
Chris Bulwardy's track. Yeah.
yeah, and it was
Yeah.
gnarly, bro. I was like, that's insane. And like, I feel like if you were to go to King of the Hammers for the very first time, or if you go to like Dakar, for example, which I want to talk to you about Dakar for a second too. But I feel like if you go to that, I can imagine that if you are not a truck owner in any way, shape, or form, the moment that you leave those events, if you leave King of the Hammers, you're going to be like, the moment you catch signal, you're going on to like online
Yeah,
looking
yeah,
up
yeah.
Raptors. You know what I'm saying?
It's
Every
like going to
time.
Moab or going there. It's like it makes you go like, I need more off-road things.
Yes,
And
you do.
because it's like, especially when you go in something like, like Chris's pre-runner that's
Yeah.
so sorted and has a billion inches of travel, and like the tech's amazing, but it's just like it's so fun, dude. There's no rules. It's just like open desert, let her eat. It's so cool.
And you're one with nature. I hate to say that because it sounds so like corny and stuff like that, but you are one with nature in that
Oh,
space,
dude,
right?
desert sunrises and sunsets. Once the racing's all over, dust is down. I mean, it's like it's epic, man. It's so
It's
cool,
next level.
and yeah, it's so good. So
Yeah.
yeah, I
I
love
mean,
it. then yeah, we're it's an insane thing, but it's a lot of fun.
Oh no, for no doubt. I mean, I'm trying to think what would be the perfect thing. You know what? Do you remember back in the day when Matt LeBlanc was he was hosting Top Gear? It probably wouldn't have been
Yeah,
season one. So this Chris Evans was still the main guy, but like
yeah,
Matt
yeah,
was
yeah.
still really important before he took over the next season. But there was an episode where Matt LeBlanc, I think he's driving the aerial Nomad, right? Which is
Yeah,
the
yeah. Let me
off-roading
ride out
Atom.
there. Yeah,
Yeah, and I
yeah,
think
yeah.
he must have driven it in I think like maybe North Africa or something like that, something like Morocco or something. I'm not 100%
Sure.
certain, but I remember this and like he is just ripping in this thing and I'm thinking to myself I'm like it's small, it's nimble, it's got a Honda Civic engine. Do I care? Absolutely not. I want that at not necessarily King of the Hammers per se, because obviously King of the Hammers includes a lot of crawling,
Yeah, you
but
want
like
a
as a
UTV,
Baja,
which is basically the
yeah,
same thing.
which is basically the same thing. But you're doing like Baja racing, like just straight up Baja racing. That might be like the one of the cooler things that you can do because that thing is so small. It's like 300 horsepower. It weighs 1,500 pounds, but
Yeah.
you are for sure getting covered in dirt. So you better like you have to be covered from head to toe. But like that to me is like the perfect ripper to go ahead and just be doing like 100 miles an hour in dirt, Corey. Can you? I know you can imagine because I know
Yeah.
you've done it. But like that's
It's
insane.
it's so rad. And like I mean some of the best stuff out there isn't even like the big trucks and stuff
Yeah.
or your UTVs or anything else. Like there's they do a class 11 race every year, so
Okay.
all the bugs from class 11 in Baja, it's all pretty much like fixed setup bugs on the short course racing each other, and it's like it's cinema, dude. It's like a night race. It's 45 minutes, but it's just like it reminds you why you like cars because it's
Yeah.
just a bunch of people in like prepped off-road bugs, all pretty much same powertrain, same travel, all kind of like
Yeah.
the fixed stuff for class 11, and it's so rad. It's such a blast.
Oh, dude, absolute cinema. It's just pure
Yeah,
cinema. I
it
love it, dude.
is,
I'm
dude. It
I'm so
is.
about it, dude. Just
It is.
imagine getting the most amazing slow-mo shot of someone like
I got one, dude. I'll text you one later.
please send it to me because like I gotta imagine like somebody doing like a drift in dirt and you just see this whale
Yeah.
tails. Just
And
oh
it's
my
just a
god,
bug,
it's
dude. It's
so
just a
good.
bug.
It's
It's
so
great.
gangster. I
Yeah, it's
absolutely
super
love it.
fun.
I had the blessing of getting a chance to go ahead and meet TJ Russell of Baja,
Hmm.
Russell built Baja, and because
Yeah.
they're now based here in the Phoenix area, and so like he's been bringing out the Baja 911s out to Barrett Jackson now for like the last couple of years, and so I've been meaning to get him on this podcast. We have to get that set up sorted at some point soon. But like I've seen that car in video in action, and it is like
No, it's
amazing.
amazing.
And
Mhm.
I'm like, yo, if you take a Baja 911 out to like King of the Hammers or something like that, you know it's gonna go ahead. It might not even be do work, but it's going to do work in the sense it's gonna be like one of the most stylish things out there, just doing things that a 911 really shouldn't do, even though the 911 can absolutely do it, which is what makes it even better. And it's just like that to me, along with the Nomad, but then also like making a psychotic raptor be more psychotic. You know what I'm saying? Like anybody with a raptor
Yeah.
off, you want to put it through its paces, take it out to the king of the hammers.
You'll see literally everything. I mean, my friend Emmy races. They have the Everyman Challenge race, and my friend Emmy races a lifted Miata. Like there's all kinds of anything and everything is there.
That is so wicked. Let me ask you a question, man. You know, because you obviously, or you are a big, enormous fan of everything off road. You know, we're mentioning, Raptor, F-150 Raptors. You know, Ranger Raptors are out there now. Obviously, TRXs are still kicking. Keeping Dodge alive. EVs didn't work for Dodge, and all of a sudden they were like, "We got to go back to the V8s and the V6s." I'm like, "Yeah, that was a
Yeah,
smart decision. Y'all should have never shied away from it." But whatever. I'm not here to slander Dodge in any way, shape, or form
they
because
figured it out.
they figured it out. But we have TRXs, we have Raptors. Do you find it surprising as an enthusiast and someone who works in the media space? Have you found it surprising that GMC and Chevy haven't done anything for the Silverado and Sierra that hardcore? Obviously, we've got the Colorado, which is dope. You're never going to hear me crap on the Colorado. Colorado
Yeah,
Z71 package is like
yeah.
aces
ZR2,
or
ZR2 is good.
ZR2s,
Yeah,
excuse me.
ZR2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But like, do you find it surprising that Chevy and GMC haven't gone that hardcore with a Silverado or a Sierra over the last like 5 to 10 years? I find it surprising.
yeah. I mean, it's I like they're selling a lot of Tahoes.
Yeah.
and in Silverados. And I don't know. They I think that they've got the AT4. They've got a couple things in that sort of realm. Nothing
But it's
super
not as
hardcore.
hardcore. That's which is
No,
what
but
I find
but
interesting.
there also isn't, I think it looks like, especially with Cadillac entering F1 and stuff, they're
Yeah.
putting their motorsport interest and effort into road cars
To a
and
different
into
section.
F1. So yeah, so I think doubling down on the when you look at the Cadillac side of the business, we have some pretty sick cars
Oh yeah, you're
on the
never gonna hear
street
me
now.
complain about
So
anything
yeah,
Cadillac's doing.
CT5 Blackwing is sick.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think every brand's got kind of a different goal. I get Ford's pivot. I have
Yeah.
Maverick. I love it. Um, but like, at the end of the day, like it's getting really, really hard to sell street cars and sell high performance street cars.
Yeah.
But there people can find a use case for a truck that's capable. And I think, that's why everywhere you look all over LA, there's Broncos and Bronco Raptors and regular Raptors. And it's there's a reason they're going to off road. It's just a lot less limits. So they can kind of do whatever they want.
You're so right. A lot less limits. The usability of a Maverick and a Ranger in particular, because you might look around, you might say, you know what, a Ram and an F-150 and a Silverado have gotten too big. So it's like, okay, what do I go to? Oh, well, a Maverick exists, a Ranger exists, the Colorado
Yeah.
obviously exists, and whatnot. I don't think that GMC has an equivalent, a sister to the Colorado. So I think it's just the
Yeah, there's
Colorado.
supposedly like a Montana coming out that's going to be like a Maverick competitor, but
Oh,
I
interesting.
haven't I've seen little renders of it and stuff, but I don't know
Yeah.
if it's real. But
Well, you and I
I
both
mean,
grew up with like Chevy S10s and GMC Jimmys back in the day, bro.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah, yeah. I mean, I had a Tacoma, and then a bunch of my buddies had Rangers. Like
Mhm.
typical high school bros. There was like Rangers and Fabtech lifts, and it was the
Shout out to
thing,
the
but.
Ranger flare side, baby. Let's
Yeah, yeah,
go.
yeah, and just all the sideways rear seats that all of us sat in when we didn't drive
Yep.
yet, and all of our friends did.
100%.
So,
My cousin had a GMC Jimmy, and I'd have to go ahead and kind of sit down on the side and stuff like that.
yeah.
It was so interesting. And then I had a friend of mine also who had a Chevy S10 Extreme. The
Oh
X,
yeah, I wanted
that
an
was
X Runner super bad. Like in
the
when the
Tacoma
X
X
Runner came
Runner.
out. Yeah, and like
Yeah.
I'm glad I'd never. It was like kind of one of the don't meet your heroes things. Like
Yeah.
I had never driven an X Runner, but I drove. Larry had still has a supercharged FJ, and his
Okay.
FJ is manual. And for some reason, we swapped cars for a weekend, and I had his FJ, and I was like, I've never driven any like Toyota truck manual transmission outside of like a Toyota pickup,
Sure.
and the like a throw with that V6
You're
like
throwing
this,
out
and I
your
was like,
freaking
man,
shoulder, bro.
it wasn't that sporty. But it's like it's such a I always thought those were so cool. I wanted an X Runner forever.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I remember, friend to both of us, Ali Hoff. Shout out to Ali. Otto Hoff's the man, the myth, the legend. My man just keeps on chugging along. I don't know how he does it, but that dude's an absolute beast. But I remember when he went ahead and first came on, like about a year and a half ago, and him and I were like geeking over. Like I'm a huge fan of the Ram SRT10. Like that to me is the coolest
Yeah,
truck
I
ever
love that
made,
truck.
right? And everybody talks about like, oh, the F-150 Lightning, blah blah blah. Like, listen, man, let me tell you something right now. I get the lore of the F-150 Lightning. I know it's gangster, Ford GT engine, Shelby GT500 engine,
Yep.
whatever. Paul Walker driving it, in the first Fast and stuff like that. It's dope. I'm here to say it right now once more. In the words of Bernie Sanders, of like, I'm here to tell you back one more time. Understand the Ram SRT10 is the coolest truck ever made. Period. Point
No, it
blank.
was wild. And you look at it
It's
and you can't believe they built it.
dude, it's
Yeah.
nuts. It's nuts. Like, I mean, I get it. Like, manufacturers have put V10s into trucks like for forever.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
Triton, the F250, F350 Triton with the big V10. Like,
Sure.
that was
Sure.
normal. Pretty sure Silverados and Sierras had a V10 and
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
2500 back in the day and stuff like that. But they said, no, 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 no. We're going to go ahead and put the Viper V10 into this truck with the 6 speed at the time, obviously.
There was a little magic hour happening. Like you brought up LA Auto Show, and like I remember my dad and I going to the show when the SRT8 Magnum came out.
Oh,
And
dude.
he was like, he had a Durango at the time. He had a 5.9 Durango in this like Smurf blue. It was a piece of shit. It was a horrible vehicle.
Shout out to the
And
Dodge Durango, bro.
dude, it was such a terrible, it overheated. We go camping as a family. It was a horrible vehicle,
Yep.
but he loved it. And I remember going there and seeing the Magnum when it first came out, and he was like, "You think I could convince mom to let us get one of these?" We never got one, never bought it. But like the fact that they had done that, and that was around the same time that like the Sidewinder concept came out.
Yeah. The Dodge
All these like
Tomahawk
great, yeah,
motorcycle. Remember
yeah,
that?
like great concept cars. Like I was playing Need for Speed at the time, so it's like Ford Indigo, all that stuff. It was like there was a
Yeah.
lot of really like there was a lot of really rad stuff in that era. But like that was like a V8 wagon, that you could own was
Yeah.
was pretty rad at the time. Like to see
I
that in
mean,
person and stuff.
for because that was during the time the E55 AMG was a thing and stuff like that,
Sure,
and we got
yeah, but
that
not
here.
here.
We didn't get, we never got the wagon here and stuff like that. And it's like dude, I remember when the commercial first came out, you know, for when because they gave the Magnum both the SRT8, which would have been the 6.1 liter V8, but it also
Yep.
had the regular 5.7
Yeah,
liter
you can use the
Hemi.
regular Hemi. Yeah,
Yeah, which is like also still, I ain't gonna complain about the Hemi, you know what I'm saying? Like it's kick ass. And I remember,
yeah,
I
it was
think there was a
wild.
commercial of like the dude like ripping through the canyons with like 2x4s in the back with the seats down, and then all of a sudden he gets to the light, and then people are like looking over to him, and they're like, "What the hell?" And it's like, and I think
So
Dodge says
good.
Dodge Magnum. And I'm like, "Oh my god, this is incredible!" The marketing of that. Actually, you know what? Because I'm such a fan of marketing and such a fan of social media and stuff like that, I
Yeah.
don't think we ever talked about this the first time. What do you think was what hooked you into my love for automotive marketing and or automotive media? What was a particular either commercial or of the amazing content that you and I would have grown up on and stuff like that? What was it that hooked you, or one of the ones that hooked you?
Probably there were probably two moments. There's one real life moment with my dad,
Okay.
and then I played like every car racing game. So it was like Midnight Club, it
Yep.
was Gran Turismo, it was all that stuff. But I remember my dad raced pro stock drag bikes in the 80s for Vance and
Okay.
Hines.
Sick.
So that was like his thing. And when Byron Hines, the owner, of the team and owner of Vance and Hines at the time, he had a 993 turbo and he was selling it and he was moving to another state. And so he was trying to sell it. And this was before the crazy Porsche nonsense.
Mhm.
And, it was just like a car.
Yeah.
And then it was
God,
new,
I'm
fairly
so
new at
mad
the
that you and
time.
I did not have money back then, bro.
And it was a silver turbo. And he asked my dad, "Hey, will you help me sell it?" And, like my dad's like, "Yeah, sure." And he like was detailing cars and stuff. So he detailed it. We had it for maybe a week or two. And I remember him driving me to school in the 993 turbo. And I remember doing a pull on the freeway. Uh, and I remember that moment and going like, "Oh, this is sick." Like whatever this is, and I'm not like a Porsche nut for any reason. I had a chance to drive a lot of really rad stuff, but that I remember that moment specifically and where we were, and that's kind of a core memory.
That's
I
amazing.
think I think the video game thing is probably because I love Japanese cars so much
Mm-hmm.
and like being able to learn about, Daihatsu Copens and Cappuccinos and Skylines and all that stuff. My dad used to travel back and forth to Japan for work. He went 7 or 8 times and like he'd bring me back like I remember having a Tamiya like model and it was a purple R32.
Mm-hmm.
And he brought like grape Mentos back and like weird snacks that we couldn't get here and all kinds of stuff. But like that, the Japanese thing was super, super early. And that was like what kind of hooked me. And it's still like my favorite part now. Like I still geek out over that stuff.
Yeah.
Even now, like, and I am, yeah, I'm at some point I'll have a chaser in my life and we'll get there. But for now, I can pitch it as a family car. So
Oh,
so
dude, but
yeah,
so
JZX
good.
100 would be a nice move. So
I'm with
that's
you.
probably
I was talking with a friend of mine earlier today, and him and or not earlier today. I was talking to him like Sunday, and you bring up the Toyota Chaser, and it makes me think of Hyperdrive on Netflix back in 20, what would have been 2019, 2020 that it released, and
yeah
shout out to Rutledge Wood, who was one of the main hosts of that show and stuff like
yeah
that. And there was this
yeah. He's one of
one
the
dude
dogs.
Oh man, Rutledge Wood, please, bro. One time, I need you right here on TT, bro. We're
I
almost
got
getting to
you. I
episode
got you. I
200.
got you.
We're almost
You're
at
talking
episode
to the right
200. Let's get Rutledge Wood on the podcast.
guy.
But like, I love that guy. Top Gear USA is such. We'll talk about. I'm going to talk about Top Gear USA in a second because it brings me so much joy because those six.
I have a good story for that too.
Oh hell yeah, for sure. But there was this one Japanese driver that was brought on for hyperdrive, and he was driving a chaser, and bro, that car was ripping across that
Oh,
track,
they're
man.
sick.
They were
They're sick.
they had some great drivers on that show with some excellent cars that you were like, oh, dude. Not only can these people drive, but these cars are like, that was the first time I ever heard of Fielding Shredder, who has now blown up in social media. Him and his I believe, is it an S13 or S14? I think it's an
Yeah.
S14, I think it
I don't
might, with an
know.
LS swap. But
Yeah,
it's
sounds right.
such a sick car, and then the two I think it was the two finalists were these two Brazilian dudes, Diego something, who was in
Yep.
what would he have been driving? I think he would have been driving like a 69 or a 70 Mustang or something like that with some type of crazy engine swap or whatever. And that dude was like at the time like 17, and he was just like, I was like, yo, this dude is a freaking prodigy. And like so many people that also blew up off of that. There was a gal, or she was driving a 350Z, and the Brittany Williams or something like that. Her and her husband are doing
Yeah.
YouTube now. And so, but
That's so.
yeah, and it's like there's so many people that popped off because of that. And I'm like, just the concept of that was amazing, and it made me sad that they didn't bring it back. And then when you realize why they didn't bring it back, it's like, yo, we couldn't afford the insurance. I
Yeah.
understand that completely. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
saying?
that's the reality of a lot of it. So
Yeah. So like, and you think about, we always come up with some crazy ass concepts. Us is like, oh well, why don't we make a show like this and stuff like that? And then when you look at the actual bill that's going to go ahead and come, I'm assuming that from your perspective, like that's what you guys do. It's like I love what you guys do because you guys are able to go ahead and create magic for your clients within the reasonable aspect, yet you still make things happen. What do you think is the core thing in order to be able to achieve a good strategy for your clients, Cory, in
I,
2026?
I think a lot of it is like being able to have enough trust to be honest with the brands that you work with.
Yeah.
It's really easy to get on the phone and say, yeah, awesome, and everything's great, and of course, yeah, no problem. But I think setting expectations for people, and also, being like trying to set them up for success. Sometimes you got to get them out of their own way.
Right.
And maybe they have an idea they want to execute, and you're like, hey, here's a better way that we can do it, or here's an idea, or what about this? And not being afraid to sort of, the reason they hire you is for your expertise. So
Absolutely.
like utilize it. Don't let people, kind of bowl you over just because they think they have the next best idea.
I love that. In 2026, obviously, creativity is all over the place, right? And I think
Yeah,
that's
for
what makes
sure.
I think that's what makes the space in one of the better places it has been in quite some time and whatnot. But at the same time, you know, there's a lot of competition, and additionally, like money's money. You know what I mean? Things get more expensive each and every single time. So like budgets shrink and whatnot. So for people, the key thing is always going to be creativity, but not just creativity, logic, right? I think people forget how important logic is in marketing strategies and stuff like that. Which is a very silly thing, because we all are about that creativity, but there needs to be a healthy balance between that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is like, there's there's obviously we live in a world where there's ideation, through AI, and there's like, oh, what has somebody else done before you? And a lot of that stuff is going to be super derivative. But I think like, a lot of people have been told, and I think you might have heard this from Johnny, from other people, about like being your own brand. And
Mm-hmm.
I think part of it is sort of owning those ideas and knowing that, it's not what you say, it's what you don't say.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I'm like a great group. Some of the best advice I've ever been given is like, be interested, not interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll learn a lot more about how to pitch an idea, or maybe what somebody's into, and how you can sort of, create a situation where maybe you can't execute the thing you've been dreaming about, but you got to figure out how to get them to buy in on it.
Yeah. No, that's why you guys are doing what you're doing. That's why you guys are so successful at it. And that's, it's really important. You guys also know who to go with and you know who to work with. I think that's incredibly important, making sure that the relationships are beneficial to everybody involved. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah, man.
it's
And
been
it's
amazing.
still got to be fun. So,
Like, oh, 100%. And
yeah.
that's the thing about working with you guys over at Kahn is like you guys make things fun. You guys make things exciting. You guys want to go ahead and anybody who comes in for media that you guys bring in, you want us to be able to go ahead and not just get the best content possible. You guys want us to have a blast. Like, dude, like I'll never forget. I've talked about this a million times, and I thanked you a million times, obviously as well. But you knew how much it meant to me to be able to go ahead and interview Jensen Button that one time that we were together, and like I ran to you and I was like, "Yo, Cory, we did it, bro!" And it was listen, it's 6 minutes. It's 6 minutes. I don't care. How many times does a regular podcast get a chance to go ahead and interview I've said of regular, a Formula One world champion? That's not normal. The fact that I can say, this is weird. I swear to God, this isn't a flex, but this is an actual statement. The fact that I can say that Spike's Car Radio, the Smoking Tire, and Tormenting Tarmac have one thing in common, and that's having Jensen Button on as a guest is actual insanity to me.
I love it.
Granted,
I
I had
love
him for 6 minutes. Matt had him. Matt
it.
and
It don't
Zach had him
matter.
for like an hour and 20, but like, I'll take it, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'll take it.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, no, man. Jensen's the man. He's
Jensen's
best.
the absolute. He was a sweetheart and a half and whatnot, and it's just amazing, bro. But so tell me, man, because you said you had an amazing story about Top Gear USA. Like you and I were same age. Comes out what I think first year of Top Gear USA with Tanner, Adam, and Rutledge was what 2010, 2011.
Yeah, and I didn't watch like I watched it, obviously all the Clarkson era
Yeah, of
stuff
course.
and I didn't watch a ton of I love Rudd, I love Tanner. I didn't watch a bunch of that, but it was actually through work.
Mhm.
We work with Lotus, and so we had the Avora GT, and so it was the Dax era, and
Ah,
we were at Willow, which is funny, and they were doing the Stig laps for the
okay.
show. So it was a cool day, and it was like, hey, can you bring the car out, come out for the day? Stig's going to do his laps, and we're going to record the lap time, shoot that whole thing on streets, and then head home. And it was super weird because it was during COVID. And
Mhm.
so all of the movie industry and TV industry, there were all these like weird rules, and there were like compliance monitors for wearing masks. And it was like so strange. And we're outside, but I think it was on a Friday, and I told my dad, I was like, hey, do you want to go to a filming of Top Gear? And he's like, yeah, yeah, that'd be cool. So he jumped in, we got in the Lotus, drove up to Willow, and we got there, and there was a Huayra BC that was being tested, and a bunch of other crazy stuff. But I remember the Huayra. I have a photo of my dad like sitting in it and hanging out because all the reps from all the different companies are
Yeah.
there with the vehicles or a tech who brought it out or whatever it is. And the funniest part is even off camera, they hide Stig, and I don't remember who it was at the time. It wasn't Ben, but they hide them the whole time. So like
Right.
Stig gets out, does his lap, doesn't talk to you, and then go and they put him in a van. It's an air conditioned van, and he's in there hanging out.
I love
So
that.
I remember I remember that, and it was such a funny thing. But it's like, all right, it's time to drive, and so I'm like talking to him, and obviously he's just nodding. And
Yeah.
I'm telling him, hey, here's the settings, here's this, here's that. And he's like, good, thumbs up, thumbs up. All right, good, go. So that's my Stig story.
That's my Stig
But
story, and I'm sticking to it, baby.
yeah, but it was cool, and it was like fun. It's fun to watch somebody, drive it at full clip. I think the Huayra had it was just like such a fun day, and I don't think my dad's ever seen how like TV's created. So
Right.
yeah, it was a blast. And Derek Powell, a good friend of mine, he was a writer for the show. Him and
Mhm.
Joe Barry, that now Joe works over at Cars and Bids. Um, but both of those guys would be great guests because they're awesome people, and Derek has the best stories because they were writing a bunch of the episodes and scripts and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, that he'd be a really fun one to talk to.
The
But
seat is
it was
open,
it was
fellas.
such a yeah, it was such a fun day, and
Yeah.
I have some great photos of that. So
Oh, dude, that's
yeah,
sick. You got to send those to me. We can go ahead and put it up for the
yeah,
podcast for
yeah,
when
for
it
sure.
drops and stuff like that. Speaking of Derek Powell, you and him actually got a really cool opportunity a few months back. Along, you name dropped Larry Chen earlier, and who else was on that
Yeah,
episode?
it would have been, it was Vinny. It was
It was
on
Vinny.
Zach's
That's
show.
right, and it's of
Yeah, so
course
it's
Zach Driver.
Vinny, Jeff Glucker, and then me and Larry. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that was a fun time, dude. Because I watched the first one I think Zach is now this is now the third episode that he just dropped. I think just
Yep.
this earlier this week, and
Yeah,
so
yesterday, huh?
Zach reaches out to me late September of last or late August of last year. He's like, "Hey, man, quick question for you. Like, I'd love to go ahead and come back on the show." And I'm like, "Bro, you don't have to ask. You just tell me when you come on. You're all good. It's all good, baby." And so he tells me the idea of what he's doing. And so I think his first episode released like a week before he hopped on the show. So
Hmm.
like we got a chance to dive deep into it and stuff like that. And as I'm driving to LA in November, that Wednesday, your episode dropped, and I was like, "Oh shoot, it's Cory!" You know what I'm saying? Like I was like, "Geek, that's my boy." But then it's Larry, and then it's Glucker, and it's Vinny. And the funny thing is, that Thursday, I'm at the LA Auto Show, and I'm walking around and stuff like that, and I met Manuel Carrillo, who's also a
Yeah,
friend,
yeah.
huge, great writer over in the LA area. Shout out to Manuel. His 911 is aces. I met Jeff. Glucker. I was like, "Yo, dude,
Yeah, Jeff's the best.
he was such a sweetheart. He was so kind to me. Like we talked for like 10 minutes, like and everything like that. I also met Larry, which was hilarious because Larry was locked in the media room, like locked in. And I was like, I saw him, and I told I don't know who I told. It was either Ryan, Lindsay, or Danny P. And I was like, shit, it's Larry Chen. And they're like, you got to go say what's up. And I was like, he's so locked in. And so I said, you know what, whatever. I'm gonna go introduce myself. I go over there. I talked to him for 10 seconds, and he was very nice. But you could tell that he was very busy. So I didn't.
He's a work mode, dude.
He's in work mode. I didn't want I'm there for work. He's there for work. But I'm doing my thing. And
Unplug my boy, dude.
yeah, I
Gotta get
have
the
to.
bug, dude.
He's one of the greatest photographers in the game. He sets a standard that everybody tries to go ahead and go after. It's insane.
And one of
And
the
so,
best humans on earth.
oh, very much.
Just an
Well,
excellent
that's
human.
that's actually what makes this story even better because like I see him and it was like a 20 second interaction, and I was like, oh man, I bothered Larry Chen. Like, damn it. Like I whatever, it's all good. God bless him. I call my boy Danny P like a couple weeks later just on some BS because I wanted to reach out to him and check up on him and stuff like that. And he doesn't answer me. So I'm like, whatever. Danny P's usually pretty good about calling me back. And he calls me back like 5 minutes later. And I answer and I was like, yo, DP, what's good, brother? And all of a sudden it's like, hello? Hello? And I'm like, didn't sound like Danny P. For everybody who wants to know, Dan Pilling is a very British individual. This was not a British individual calling me and whatnot. And I was like, yeah, hello. He's like, oh, hi, this is Larry Chen calling. And I was like, oh, shit. And I could tell that it was Larry Chen because
I
it
love it.
sounded like Larry Chen. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? I'm like, hey,
That's
hey,
funny. I
Larry,
love that.
what's up? He's like, yo, Dan Pilling asked me to give you a call, man. How's it going? And we talked for like a minute, and I was like, this is amazing. Shout out.
Nice,
So
man.
I love that. I love Danny P is such a good person, and Larry again, that was my second interaction. So hoping the next time I can go ahead and actually have a conversation with him more, and then hopefully Larry Chen, let's get you on the TT. But like at the end of the day, he seems like such a nice individual, and he means so much to car culture with everything that he's brought to it over the last 15 years, if you will.
For sure.
Not just the photography, not just the relationship with Hoonigan and with, RIP Ken always, but just what he's been able to go ahead and bring as a totality. Cause he's gone from photography. He's now, I consider him more so as a documentarian these days, more so than anything else. Right. And it's his evolution has been one to behold in a really special way.
Yeah, and I have Larry and I met back in I guess 2011.
Okay.
And we were working with a shooter, Lindbergh Nguyen, and we had a hill climb race we were doing in Virginia City. And so it was a 341 challenge, and it was sick. Like we literally shut down a canyon road in the middle of Reno, Nevada, or above Reno, Nevada, and
that sounds like a good day at the office, Cory. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. This was early. This was like the first, maybe my second year on the job.
Yeah.
And Lindbergh, we reached out to him and he couldn't shoot it. And he says, "Hey, my friend Larry would be like a good shooter. You guys should hire him." And this was like in the drift photos era, like early. And he came out and shot and like obviously created sick stuff and it was awesome and did a story for Speed Hunters too. And I gotta go find it. And we just have been friends ever since. And like we had so much fun on that trip and it's just so it was super fun to do the show with him because obviously like we're both nerds and like to do the show and be with Zach and the crew and Thad Thad behind camera too who's an awesome friend. And it was just like it was such a blast and doing it at the garage too and it was just like it was such a blast to just sit and shoot the shit and joke around and like be funny with my friends, so I loved it.
No, I love it. And I love it, like, the relationship that all you guys have had for a very, very long time. You talk about you and Zach Clapman have been friends for an incredibly
Yeah,
long
about the same
time.
amount
You
of
and
time. Yeah.
Farrah, yeah, you and Farrah have been really good friends for a really long time. You mentioned Thad and all that. It's wild to think, bro, that you and I are like we said the same age and stuff like that. So like around 2008, 2009, you and I are graduating high school. You graduated probably like '07 areas, like we're
Yeah, it was
like
seven.
right
Yeah.
there, right? And so like we're seeing all this stuff, and like I remember having the conversation with Zach from back when they used to do the smoking tire back from the house that they rented back in LA and stuff like that. And it was like
Yeah.
it was a social media house without being a social media house. Like literally, that's what it was. And to see how
They
everyone
do the podcast like on the kitchen table.
that's what they told
I
me.
brought
Yeah, that's what
I brought
Zach used
Steve
to.
Dine in there for the first time I met everybody. I brought Steve Dine in for an episode. And like I'm sitting on the couch while my client's being interviewed, and there's like a bong over here on the table, and
Yo,
like
that's crazy, bro.
Conrad the cat's crawling all over me, and like it was like, and Steve's comment. Me and Zach always laugh about this, but like Steve's comment was like he walks in, he goes, "Man, you guys had pretty low overhead." And I was like, "Yeah, that's true."
It's just
Yeah,
it's
man.
wild to think about that. Like it was kind of like the wild, wild west. You guys were kind of like just really redis. Those guys were re-evolving what it was to be automotive media because obviously it was really writing and stuff like that. Video didn't really come along until like Top Gear, but then really YouTube really blew up in '06 with the Drive, and then Motor Trend took advantage of it. And
Yep.
then we started to go ahead and see all the supercar YouTubers, like Shmee and everybody else that came along with them
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and everybody else that you and I have seen come out through the years. But it's just like it is amazing to see there has been no burnout from that particular group. It was they all came up and then they took it to the next level and have maintained themselves in a really important aspect of what is automotive media. They've gone into different venues, but the core has always remained the same. You've got Matt, you've got Zach, you've got Lieberman over at Motor Trend, Misa, who's been all over the place and is just killing it with Haggerty now these days. Doug DeMuro, yeah, he's got cars and bids, but what's the main marketing of that?
Yeah,
The
he's
Doug
still
DeMuro, yeah,
cranking on his own channel.
it's
Yeah.
great. And so like it's amazing to see that none of those dudes and dudettes who have come along the way ever fell off. Like Lynn Woodward is killing it with Kelly Blue Book right now. You know what I'm saying? Alana Shear keeps doing her thing over at
Yeah.
Car and Driver.
Alana was our second employee. So she and I worked together
That's
for a long
amazing,
time
dude.
till she went on to write for Hot Rod and stuff. So
Yeah,
we're still friends to this day and she lives close by. She's her and her husband, great people.
they have
They're
their car
wonderful.
taste
Love
is
them.
incredibly eclectic from
Yeah.
what I've heard on the
Very
podcast.
Mopar. Yeah.
It's so
Mopar,
cool.
Opal, all
Yeah,
kinds of stuff.
I
Yeah.
almost introduced myself to her when I was down there in November. And we were at the same venue for an Alfa Romeo thing and whatnot. And I was like, oh, I know that person. That's Alana, sure. But like we were so busy, I didn't get a chance to go ahead and like walk on over and like introduce myself to her. So I owe myself that the next time in LA we're in the same vicinity and
Yeah,
whatnot.
man.
But like, I guess my point is, I the LA hustle is real, but it's not just the LA hustle. It's what, you got to bring a certain level of passion to, I do this for the love of the game. Literally, I make, talk about zero overhead. There is no overhead. That's it. Like I ain't making nothing, but like I do this for the love of the game. I do it because I love it and stuff like that. And I think that you have to have a certain level of passion and think it's been displayed for such a long period of time. And the people that have stuck around who are still doing it, maybe in different facets, but they're still doing it at a really, really high level. And then they can all branch off. Yet their brand is so important that that's why they keep on being brought in by other individuals and whatnot. And it's like, you and I seeing that around us and stuff like that, and you being a huge, enormous part of all that is really, really cool, dude. And I gotta commend you for it, for being one of those dudes who has been able to facilitate to those guys that you and I would have grown up with and stuff like that. That's a special thing.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think part of it is, there's you only get one reputation.
Mm-hmm.
And you never burn a bridge. And I think people can see through bullshit pretty easily.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is just like, everybody that I've encountered or met with over the years, or friends all over the world now, for, if I'm traveling to the UK or whatever, like, we have a common denominator, and it's cars, or it's motorcycles, or maybe it's guns or golf or whatever. But like, all of these people I consider friends, and no matter what level that is, if we see each other every weekend or we see each other once a year, it's like nothing, no time has passed. Like, and I think part of that is, like, you have to really love the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And now the cars are almost secondary, because the friendships like sort of overtake that for me.
Right. That's so cool,
So
dude. I love that. Well, it just shows that you got to be yourself in this game and don't do anything else,
yeah,
right? Because people need to go ahead and get to know you. They need to go ahead and see the real you. They need to go ahead and see your work ethic. They need to go ahead and see what you bring to the table. But most importantly, are you authentic? I think the authenticity that a lot of people have been able to go ahead and show throughout the years and stuff like that is what allows them to go ahead and stay at that consistent level. And whenever somebody's not authentic, that you usually see the drop off relatively quick.
yeah, for sure.
Trust
Yeah.
me, I've
So
seen enough like automotive, wannabe media, if you will, or wannabe YouTubers where I was like watching that they were like spin-offs of other people because like, oh, I'm gonna try YouTube because I hung out with these people and stuff like that. And then like the good ones, they stick around. The ones that like aren't, they fall off pretty quickly and you can tell. And that's not a shot or anything like that. It's just normal. It's just life, You
yeah, for
have to
sure.
go ahead and put a lot into it in order to be successful, in some way, shape, or form, or at least like you got to be passionate. You can not be successful, but as long as you have passion, you can go ahead and continue to push and just enjoy it and do it as literally for the love of the game because there's no other phrase to use. But yeah, it's fascinating to me.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is definitely an industry, you get what you put into it. And if you show up and you're on time and you're professional and you're kind, and you're respectful, and treat everybody the same, you go a long way. And I think, like, we have new employees coming into the industry, and we have I have so many people that I work with day to day, that like, I love when somebody comes back to me now and says like, hey, I had such a great experience with somebody that on your team, or or like, that person rocks, I love them. Like, that makes me feel good, because now whatever training they had, or whatever guidance maybe throughout their career I was able to offer,
Mhm.
like, it makes me feel really good now, watching other especially younger employees and stuff have these experiences that I got to have when I was younger, like driving a press car for the first time, or all that stuff. Like, I love that now, where I'm like, hey, here's this dope thing you're going to get to do. Like, and that, like, first moment, when they hop in a car, or they get to go to an event or whatever it is, like, I get a big joy out of that now. Because that was, I remember how I felt when I was,
Mhm.
when I'm 22 or whatever, and doing all that stuff for the first time.
It's cool, man. It's you and Kahn make a lot of realities happen to a lot of people, and that's something that I'll forever cherish. You've done it for me and stuff like that, and I know you've done it for a ton of other individuals. And so, from us to you, man, I
Yeah.
got to say thanks to you and the team because it really truly means a lot. I got to ask you this as we go ahead and wrap it on up tonight, man, and whatnot. Obviously, we're in the thick of it. We're already in April and stuff like that. There's so many different events that you guys are going to be involved in and
Yeah.
whatnot. What's one in particular? Give me two in particular. And, of all the ones that you do, or maybe something new that's upcoming this year that you're really
Yeah.
looking forward to that you guys are involved in. I'm curious to know.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Car Week is a staple each year, and I like now have made it a point to go up a weekend early to go play golf. Prior
Attaboy.
prior to we get into our house on Monday, like
Yeah,
of Car Week, so I'll go up and like rent an Airbnb or something. And
smart.
Me and Nate at my office did it last year, and rent an Airbnb and play golf for 2 days. It was great. It's fully because Monterey rocks. So
I
love
need to
Car
get out to
Week.
Monterey this year, bro. I need
But
to. It's yeah.
last year we did the Win Concours for the first time,
Hmm.
and it was so much fun. I actually do like Vegas. And so like I have like we go and we work hard, and but it was really really fun. And I
Yeah.
was up there with Kevin and Nate on my team, and our video team, and we got to watch the Dodgers win the World Series. Like we're in the bar there, the night after the event, everybody's hanging out. We're all watching the game 7 on the TV, and like it was just like it was such a and we went straight into SEMA from there.
Right.
But I mean, the Win Concord was a blast. So stoked to work with them again this year and get back out there. So and now, yeah, I mean, that's that. SEMA usually is kind of the end of the year for us, and then things
Right.
kind of mellow out a little bit. But dude, it's going to be hammered down. We got a bunch of cool stuff happening in the next couple months. Press launches for new motorcycles and new cars to unveil in a couple months, and it's going to be rad. So yeah, I mean, just grateful for it every day, and I'm glad I get the opportunity to do it.
Dude, well, I love it, dude. I'm so stoked for everything that's upcoming and whatnot. I will do my best to try and get out to Vegas for that Win Concourse
Yeah,
because it
dude, hit
seems
me
like
up.
it's amazing.
Yeah,
Okay.
roll out, dude. You love it.
All right, man. I definitely okay. And once more, adding more onto the checklist. But my checklist these days is getting insanely enormous, Corey. I
Nah,
don't know.
man,
It's crazy, but you know
don't
what?
don't
Might
buy
as well.
stuff. Just go buy experiences, man. That's
There you
it.
go. There you go. My friend, it's so good to see you. I'm so appreciative that you were able to go ahead and take some time out of your evening to go ahead and come hang out with your boy and do a little bit of
What's up, man?
podcasting tonight. It's always a pleasure,
Happy
genuinely.
to.
So if for anybody who's not following Cory, you can go ahead and make sure to follow him on social media. At Cory C Burns is where you can go ahead and find him. And then of course you got Kahn Media
Yes, sir.
itself, making sure that always you go ahead and check it out. Kahn for all the amazing things that they're covering for all their clients and from all the different marketing aspects and stuff like that. It's truly amazing what you guys are up to and all
Appreciate
that
you,
good
man.
stuff. And
Yeah,
but most importantly, you know, the year of baby Burns coming into the world. So
it's going
that to
down.
me, that's the most important thing, man, right there. That's you can because
Yeah,
you can go
yeah.
ahead and pull off anything you guys want to over at Con. But the cool thing that's happening is, of course,
Raising a decent human is now the new
a hundred
is now
percent.
the
Hey,
now the new goal. So
if there is ever anything that we should be proud of as in humanity is raising a decent human being. That should probably be our biggest goals, and the fact that you were going to go ahead and have that opportunity and stuff like that, and you being such a decent human being brings me so much joy. So massive congratulations to you
yeah, appreciate that, bro.
and your wife, and praying that everything comes out healthy and stuff like that. Hopefully, you'll get a chance to go ahead and listen to the podcast. If you don't listen to it when it drops, then you can listen to it
Yeah,
while
most
you're in the
definitely.
hospital. We'll go ahead and crank
Yeah,
it
dude,
up
we'll
on
be in
both
there.
audio so that way she can, your daughter can go ahead and hear her dad's voice for the first time coming through the speakers on TT. That would be
Let's
amazing.
go. I
But
love it,
for
man.
everybody listening, we appreciate you, Cory. This is episode, I believe, 186, if you can believe it,
Let's
bro.
go, man. Right on.
186. We should be expecting go ahead and hit 200 sometime in the summer, and I'm really, really, really stoked. The fact that this little podcast, I started it with my best friend Ron. Literally, I think we started recording in September of 2021, so we're looking at 5 years worth at this point.
That's awesome, man.
It has been indeed such a massive pleasure, and the amount of things that I've been able to go ahead and accomplish um, is just crazy to me, and I have people like yourself to go ahead and thank for seeing what we're doing and stuff like that and giving us a shot. So I'm always going to be indebted to you and to all our friends in the space as well that I've been able to go ahead and make. It has been an
Yeah.
amazing feat
Keep it
of.
up, bro. It's been awesome to see. So yeah, dude, we'll stay in touch. Appreciate you very much for having me on. And yeah,
Of
we'll stay in
course.
touch, bro.
All right, for sure. Well, everybody, we thank you very much so much for listening. Make sure you give us a follow on social media. You can go ahead and find us at Tormenting Tarmac on Instagram, and then make sure to go ahead and follow and subscribe to the podcast on Apple and Spotify and all those good places. But for now, that's Cory Burns, and my name is Jorge Aquino. You've all been listening to Tormenting Tarmac. It's the podcast where the enthusiast never dies. Good night, everybody.